right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the new year, right? The last one that we did of these was prior to the end of the year. So I hope everybody was safe and had good end of year stuff, and hope the start of your new year is going very well. I am Scott, aka Zhang, and as always, I have my co-host, my buddy here, my master in arms, Dan, aka the Master. How's it
Thank
going?
you for having me.
Of course, dude. They don't know. I try to keep telling them, but they don't know that 99% of what I know because you you passed it along to me. So
You're just nice.
yeah. So we are less than a week away from T8 release. Everyone's excited. And I was I guess for those listening, I was gonna try to get a video out before T8 released. I want to do like maybe a quick recap or something, but we're just in that weird space where you have people cracking the CBT, you had people crack the demo, and then now you have these instances of people getting early copies of the game and playing the game. So it's like, oh god, is it even worth it right now to do a summary or something? So instead, what we're gonna do, at least in order to make it a little bit easier, is we're going to kind of do that on this episode. I'm actually going to split it into two parts. First part, just because it feels like we should probably discuss it a little bit, is the TWT finals. Those just happened, right? So we'll chat about those a little bit. If for some reason by now you didn't get a chance to watch it, I guess heads up, spoilers, because we're going to talk about who was there, who won, etc. And then the second part, which will be the bulk of the episode, is we're going to do like a little what to expect with Tekken 8. So we'll go through each character real quick and just kind of tell you what we've seen and what kind of seems to be the impression for each of the characters that are going to be, part of that starting cast. And then we'll call it a day. And then once the game comes out, I will do my best to try to do some streams, because I haven't streamed in over a year or so. And with a new game, it just feels like maybe a good idea to do some streams. So I'll try to do that, but I will be doing, at least early on, right after the game releases, sort of research videos of characters. So here's what we found, here's where we are. Kind of preliminary things before I actually jump into the full guide videos that a lot of you might be used to. Okay, so before we actually start in on our discussions, there were two things that I wanted to mention that I forgot to do in the last episode. The first, somebody had asked after the first episode if this was on Spotify or anything like that, and I was just being lazy. I really didn't want to put it up anywhere. It's just a lot easier to focus on one site to put it up, but I did put it up on Spotify, at least for the second episode, and the link was in the description of the second episode. And I guess I can pull it up now, just double check, but no one listened to it. There were 0 listens. So
I think you actually told me about it, and I meant to go back to it, and I didn't even. So thank you for the reminder.
Yeah, as of right now, there was 1 play on episode 2. So just a heads up, I'll do that. It's not a ton of work now that I have my Spotify account set up to do that. It's not a ton of work to upload those. However, I probably will only give it maybe a few more at most for these episodes to put up on there until I just stop. So if people aren't really using that, there's really no reason for me to waste my time on it. So it's kind of a heads up. So if you want it to continue on Spotify, go listen to it there, so that I know people actually are utilizing that. And then the other thing,
I also think you got to wait until the game comes out, because that's when people will be scrambling. Where's that Shang Tech?
Well, and I mean, that's the idea with the content videos. I just don't, we kind of did this podcasting to be a more casual thing, so I guess we'll see if people listen to it or whatever, but the videos will definitely have more of the details, right? So and then
once the game comes out, people will be like, I need to be victorious. How do I get victorious?
Well, and that's an awesome segue into the other thing I wanted to mention, which was feedback. So I think we've people have been pretty good, I think, about commenting on the podcast. good or bad on YouTube. But if you guys do have any specific things that you want to hear about or want us to dive into, definitely make a comment so that we know. And just like Dan mentioned, if there's like a question, like I'm getting totally beat up by Victor, how do I turn this around? What am I supposed to be doing? That helps us like kind of focus our episodes. So if you have questions like that, definitely or not even questions, but just general feedback. If you want to say, hey, you guys are doing this great, keep this specific thing great, keep it up. That helps a lot for us to refine this as we go.
And if you see my kid on Twitch, make sure to go give him some support. Tell him what he's missing.
Yes, and I'll put the link in the YouTube description again for that for this episode.
Regret that I didn't do that at the beginning last time.
Yeah, so yes, his kid is a learner, and I think, by the way, that's just so that people don't look at that as like a shameless plug or anything. His kid is learning the game. Like he's played Tekken 7 a little bit before, but he's trying to pick things up brand new. Like this is kind of a foreign thing. So if you too, like if you're in that same position where you're just picking it up for the first time, you see Tekken and maybe you've always seen it and just now you're like, okay, I should probably try to play this game because everybody loves it and it's so popular. That might be good to see somebody else going through those stages, and then as you watch that, you'll know that Dan is in the background trying to guide it. And
he's going to be doing like a day 1 to pro, or because we're going to try to make Evo and everything. Nice. So he's going from very beginner, and we're going to try to ramp it up.
There you go. That's perfect. So you can kind of watch the progression of somebody in real time and see what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong. And then, hey, maybe we can throw that into a podcast too. It's like, oh, here's where he's struggling. And, maybe that's an area that you'll find yourself struggling in. So should be great. So yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. Lots of stuff going on. We are T-minus however many days and it's going to be great. So this guy over here is counting. All right. So that's all I had for the intro stuff. Anything you wanted to add before we actually jump in here?
No, we're good. I'm ready.
All right. So I don't know exactly how much we want to talk about this, but we probably should because it's a thing. It's a big thing. So TWT finals. I watched a decent amount of it. I oddly enough, I missed the grand finals because I think something came up with the kid or something, or kids. But again, spoiler alert. So Arslan won, and for me personally, I was and as this was happening live, I was mentioning it, but I was a little disappointed that CBT or sorry. I'm getting my acronyms. CB. So many acronyms going on. CBM. I was a little disappointed that he even got to grand finals. Because I have seen what good Noctis play looks like, and he literally could have done that with any other character. It was so boring, like achingly boring to watch. And I think everybody called it, like as soon as because he was barely winning these sets, right? So it's like, as soon as he gets to grand finals, like you're not going to be able to play this way against Arslan. He's going to destroy this. And that's what happened. So it was just, I don't know. I wish he would have, I know he's been doing the Noctis thing for a while now, but it would have been so nice to see either somebody else there or see him play a different character. Cause it was just totally unfun. The proper
send-off would have been Arslan versus Knee, but we didn't get that.
Yeah. Knee bounced out early. And I know a lot of people were talking about how in the pool play, it seemed like he threw his match against whoever it was to get them in. It was another Korean player. Why can't I remember? Because he picked like an off character and then promptly lost. And I cannot remember who that other person was. But anyway, losing that match put Knee, had Knee won that match in pool play, he would have gone on to top 8 on the winner's side. And instead he went in on the loser's side. And a lot of people were saying like he was sandbagging, like he did it on purpose. And it was a weird choice, and maybe that's what he did, but I don't know why you would do that. I mean, that's a lot of money on the line, and you're just giving away a set in top 8. Like, you're just giving it away. You're like, I don't need that extra set. Like, that makes no
Honestly,
sense
I get
to
it
me.
though. Like, if you're to that point where, because he's making money whether he's in the finals or not. I mean, he's probably done with the game. You know, what
Mm,
else does he have to prove? He might be playing Tekken 8 on the side somewhere or something. I know that they have asked for his input a lot, so I doubt he cared even.
well, I mean, that would make sense if everything else was consistent with that, right? So, like, if he had just picked off characters and, like, didn't touch Brian or Steve and was just doing goofy stuff with everybody, then I could see that would be an argument that would make more sense to me. But just that one specific one, I don't know, is weird. Is very, very weird. Because as soon as he got into top 8, I mean, he played a serious set for that, and he
Hmm.
only got the one set and lost. But yeah, it was just it was a very, very weird circumstance. And I
Absolutely.
guess, is he making money, a lot of money? I guess I don't know that
I
to be true, because I feel like Tekken players, unless you're out there winning, like, even taking home like majors, I don't know if that's a ton of money. TWT is a decent amount of money because Namco is, putting up their own cash for a big
Well, he's
final.
also
So
got his YouTubes and his Twitches and all of that business going on the side. He's probably, I wouldn't even be surprised if he was getting paid by people to, you know, teach me to be good, all
mhm,
that stuff.
could be.
I mean,
He's
he's
not on
got his
Twitch though. I don't think he's on the, what's the Korean version? It's
Africa.
Afrika. Yeah,
Yeah, sorry.
that's right. That's the one. I
I
think
thought it was
that's
that.
where he
I
is.
thought that's how you said it.
Mm.
My fault. Um, yeah, so he's got his hands in a bunch of different areas, and I mean, he could be that baseball player that plays for the love of the game, and he's just
Mm.
like, it's 8 years in, I've been doing this so long, I want to do the next meta. I mean, because honestly, that's how I feel. I'm ready for the next strategies and everything. So,
Right.
and I can only imagine like those games when you get into that highest level and you're playing like Arslan and where you're trying to react to so much as a jab whiffing and everything, that's mentally exhausting. He's
Right.
probably just like, there's light at the end of the tunnel. I'm going to get through this tournament. I'm going to get that medal. I'm going to make a goofy smile. And then we're going to go home.
I do wonder though, like, what they never talk about it, but I am always curious with like these top players that travel a lot, like what they do on the side. Like what their actual job is. Because maybe someone like a Knee or an Arslan, JDCR, he is on Twitch. I know he streams fairly often, but not even with all the top 8 guys. Like, it would be weird to me if, like, for instance, CBM, if he can make a full living just playing Tekken. So I'm curious, like, what everybody has for like actual jobs.
I do wonder that all the time just because I want to know, like, is there some hidden talent we don't know? CBM is like this accounting guru. You never know
Right.
what somebody is on the side. And then I always picture those old commercials where like Randy Johnson, famous baseball player, but he's also really good at snowball fights. I love I
Right.
love those kind of comparisons.
Well, and I know in Korea it's more common to have gamers, in commercials and stuff, but
Oh,
not a thing here, right? So, like, I couldn't even tell you what, like, guys like Anakin or Joey Fury do. Like, I don't know what their living is.
yeah.
It's possible Anakin might bring in enough from streaming and like Red Bull sponsorships, but
Right.
last time I checked, and this certainly could have changed, is that those sponsors, they don't really pay you like a salary or anything. They mostly just comp you for any travel and stuff that you do, and then you just keep whatever winnings you get. But maybe that's not the case anymore. Maybe they are getting some cold hard cash, enough so to keep doing it. The only thing that sucks, and I don't know. This is just me being starting to be an old man with a family and stuff. But it does. I always worry about them. Like, well, okay, you just spent 15 years of your youth doing this, and that's your resume. That's all you have. So what if it stops? Yeah. What do you do? Where do you go? Like, I don't even know.
Well, that's the thing with like football players and actors and stuff. Like, yeah, you were that one person who made 1/20th of your life's income on that 1 week of work or whatever it was, and
right.
What's your backup plan?
Yeah, it's been a long held criticism of like money managers and guys being taken advantage of, because you go into the even if you're not a super top talent, but you're still talented enough to be in a pro league, you go in so young and you have no idea. You have no financial literacy whatsoever. It's just a lot of those guys just get completely scraped. It's sad to see. Mm-hmm. And I think I mentioned it on like a past thing that we've done, one of the various podcasts, but ESPN did a thing about that, and it's pretty old now. I want to say it's like 10 plus years old, but it's I think, is it just called Broke? Hold on, I'm gonna look it up. But they did a really, really good, yeah, it's called Broke. So they did a really, really good 30 for 30 on that topic about guys that, they go into the league and they're getting really good money, but they have no idea how to manage it. So they just end up spending it. And then when they're done, they have nowhere to go because that was their whole resume. So it's not like they can get into some professional field or something. And
on the note about ESPN, I hope that they continue to get more involved too, because once we get to that point where it really breaks through the cultural barrier there, mm-hmm. I do think that, esports is going to end up just increasing and increasing as it goes. I mean, they're getting good viewership.
Oh, I agree. It will. I think it's going to amplify, though, that money issue that we were just talking about, because with all these pro leagues, you have a union for the players, and those unions negotiate contracts, and part of that contract is for rights, right? For television rights or streaming rights or whatever you want to call it. Whereas right now, there's nothing. Like, for one, we don't even have a league, right? There's like so many different games and they all have their own things that they're doing. And the only quote unquote league for like a fighting game would be something that the developer themselves do, like the TWT, well, I guess Tour is in the name. So the Tekken World Tour, what's the Street Fighter? I think it's Pro Tour, something like that is what the Street Fighter one is called. So mm-hmm. But that's it. But they're not negotiating. They're like, here's what we're doing, and this is PR for us. So we're not giving you anything else. And
that's what they should do is they should merge, some kind of marketing plan all together.
Yeah. Well, it's, I don't know. That's like an unsolvable thing, right? Because it's not, the games always change, right? Like they have iterations. So, we're going from Tekken 7 to Tekken 8, which is not a problem that professional athletics have, right? It's just the game. Right. Maybe you tweak the rules here and there, but it's just the same game, and you just continue it on. So I don't know, man. That's in like a situation that is so far beyond. It's just like ripe for abuse
down the line,
right? Because like I think you're 100% right. I think ESPN and television channels like that will eventually get into it more. But who are they paying? Right? They're probably paying the events. If they pay the events, then probably the developers are saying, hey, if you're getting money from a major network, you're going to kick some of that back to us. And are the players getting any bonuses for that? I don't know, because we're
advertising.
Yeah, we're not going to see any. We're not going to see the details of those contracts and those negotiations. So it's weird. It's such a weird circumstance.
once a network realizes that if they were to play it and they find people who would advertise during that more than just, other people within the industry, that's when it's going to start to take off. Because Coke's going to say,
Right. Yeah. Interesting. Anyway, because I mean, you kind of already have that happening with, Twitch and YouTube, because they run their ads during events, but not nearly the viewership of like an ESPN. So,
they should get partnered.
Right. All right, so that's TWT. I don't really have much else to say.
They were very strong matches, that's for sure. And I encourage you to watch it. If you're a big fan of, the science of it, I would say that some people are already making some overhype about the fact that Arslan used the character that Arslan used in order to win. But I mean, if you watch it, it's nothing specific to that character. He played with fundamentals.
Right. Which, every time that I watch one of those big events, I always come back to this thing, which is something that I try to repeat to newer players because they just get so hung up on it, is that you don't have to, being high level or even being, solid, being good, doesn't mean being perfect. There is all kinds of things that those guys are missing. But
even Arslan.
Yeah, even Arslan. And there are two things that always jump out. One is general knowledge of a character. So these guys have put in so much time that nothing is going to surprise them. Like if they get hit by something or something happens, they will know immediately what their circumstances were that led up to that. It doesn't mean that it's not going to work. Doesn't mean that they didn't get hit or whatever, but they'll have an understanding of why it happened. It's not that you can't catch people with stuff or you can't do mix-ups against these guys or that you need to have perfect punishing or anything like that. It's just having an understanding of why something happened, and then it leads to better decisions, right? And then the other thing is what's the best way to phrase this? So we use the word mental stack a lot, right? So the biggest thing for those guys is that they are putting emphasis on the right things the vast majority of the time. And then when they play each other, it's one of those things where it really is, a lot of it is execution, obviously, but there's a huge chunk of it which is just playing the player, right? Playing the person. Once you have that character knowledge base to pull from, then it's just a mental fight. Like, where are each of you putting your mental energy? And then can you figure out where the other person is focusing? And then using that to your advantage. Like, because we talk about it all the time, and it's something that's going to pop up lots and lots once T8 releases, is like timing mix-ups and stuff that isn't just on paper. And getting someone's focus, sleight of hand. Like, you're way focused over here, and all of a sudden you're getting hit by moves that are quote unquote seeable. So it's it's a lot about understanding how people focus and how people, create that mental stack for themselves, and then finding where because you can't guard against everything. It's I really like to compare it to a game like StarCraft, because StarCraft is a game of incomplete information. And for a fighting game, you have pretty much all of the information you need right on screen in front of you, except for your opponent's intentions. That's the only thing you don't know. And with a game like StarCraft, you can parse out a little bit of what they're doing. Like, there's such a thing as scouting, so you can kind of see, but they have different paths that they can go with their build, and you're moving things around. And the game is just largely about trying to make an educated guess on what your opponent is planning to do, what their strategy is. And then
you mentioned that StarCraft scouting thing, and that is one of the things that I'm just talking out my butt here, but
go.
One of the things that I would like Tekken to dive into a little bit is, you remember CVS, when you could pick different grooves?
Yeah.
A groove, C groove, and all that. You could pick like your character's extra specialty. I wish Tekken would take that on, especially with like the heat. Like, let's say you could pick one extra move from your move list that gets, I don't know, heat properties or whatever. I think that would be like, you could scout that out while you were. That's just me here in the middle of it. But
No,
yeah,
no, I think, well, I mean, they tried to do that. Well, they completely messed it up because they weren't being serious, but they tried to do that with Street Fighter Cross Tekken, right? Where they had those little power up things. I can't remember what the hell they were called, but it just essentially
oh
turned
yep,
it
yep.
into an RPG, and it was like a pay to win thing. So it was completely unserious. But yeah, to what you were talking about, that I could absolutely see that as being something that you could throw in there without it being broken, like just adding an additional layer of complexity to the strategy. And I mean, if you look at things like MOBAs already do that, right? Like you don't have to, well, I'm not every MOBA does, but you don't have to outfit your character exactly the same. Like you have builds, right? Like you, as the game progresses, or as the match progresses, you have choices that you can make when your character hits XYZ levels. And it will change, how your character plays. And like you're, speaking to, it changes what they have to do, how they address your specific build. So, yeah, I think that would be cool too. I think my guess is that we are probably one generation away from something like that.
Yeah, I can't see them doing it right away. Like, especially if they just did something similar in a Tekken X Street Fighter or Street Fighter X Tekken. If they just did that, then I would see them like, oh, that didn't, go the greatest way. So let's put a pin in that for a little while.
Right. See, because the way that I look at it is that if you look at 2D games, they kind of address that complexity with, well, I mean, I guess they had the game that had grooves in it, but they address that through various meter usages, right? Tekken, yeah. It feels like it wants to do that. It feels like that's what they want to do. and they just sense. Yeah, and they just haven't done it fully yet, where every character has well, I guess the heat is a meter, right? So we can look at it that way. But it's I don't know, Tekken feels like a game where it should probably use a different mechanic, and that would be one that would be awesome. So rather than doing
imagine,
a meter,
like,
yeah.
Let's put my extra 5 damage on Hell Sweep this round, and then you're fighting a drag who's like, all right, well, I'm gonna put my extra 1 on running too,
Right. Well, and Tekken actually has a little bit of experience with something like that, because the online Tekken, or the online only Tekken back with PS3 or whenever it was, that had that RPG element to it, which is what made it unbalanced. And it was just kind of a goofy game, but which, for those listening, if you're new to the Tekken series, that is the game where Eliza first appeared.
Revolution?
Actually, yeah, and actually that's the only other Tekken that she was in, right? Because I don't think she was in Tag 2. At least I don't remember her being in Tag 2. So yeah, she was only in those 2 games, but yeah.
When you explain that meter thing, though, that makes sense why you said we're like one generation away.
Yeah, because I feel like where else are you going to go, right? Like if you do another, even with something like Street Fighter, are we going to do another game with another meter? Just another version of a meter? I feel like that's what you're talking about is the route to go. Like I think that's what you can do to make these games more fresh, is to kind of follow the path of the MOBA and just have these different things that you can tweak on your character depending on what you think you can do. And what's really cool too is that would that would throw a really fun wrench into like the blind picking, because now not only are you blind picking characters, you're blind picking this extra thing. That would be funny. I wish that there was and that might be one of those things where, man, that might be one of those things where you could actually build a blind pick into the game. Because like you blind pick your characters, and then, let's just use the grooves as an example. Let's say there's like 3 or 4 different grooves that you can choose between each character. You could just bind those to, square, triangle, X, circle, and then you pick it, but it doesn't show on your opponent on the screen. It just says that you've picked one. So that would be sweet. Namco, hire me. We're available. Consultants, man. Our rates are really cheap in, to mega corporations. So,
When we talked about what we thought would come out in the new game, that was one of the very first things I was thinking of is, like, what if you could pick which rage drive you had? Was it going to be Paul's Death Fist, or was it going to be Demo Man, or was it going to be Down 12?
Right. Which, this is why I said I feel like we're one generation away, because it seems like they could have easily done that. Like, all of the moves that a character has that's specific to heat, just make it one of those groove things, right? So instead of you having this heat meter, you just have you just pick which move you want at the start. Fun. It's always fun thinking about those different ways that they could.
Sorry to sidetrack you on that.
No, that was that's a good sidetrack conversation. I love talking about that kind of stuff. And then of course we're gonna have Tekken ball tournaments and stuff. That'll be great.
Oh, actually, yeah, and I was gonna be topical too.
Oh,
did you see Harada talked about guest characters this week?
I did not. Nope, I didn't catch that.
Fair enough. I think it was just like a tweet, and I haven't seen it all over. But one of the things that he was talking about was he's not going to be doing guest characters right away. And you brought up the meter characters. Are we really willing to do all that, right now? I think that's the reason why they're kind of holding back on guest characters, is I think they haven't figured it out yet. Like, how do we want to do this? We obviously don't want the 2D problem again, because that's universally reviled. So I think that they're still trying to figure that out. Maybe they have to figure out the right character that makes the most sense for a Tekken style.
System. Yeah.
Yeah. But I wanted to bring that up in case you hadn't heard about it, or maybe even the listeners hadn't heard about it. Then maybe they just haven't figured out what they want to do.
Which, by the way, can I say that I very much like that perspective, because when it comes to games and specific, because what we're really talking about is DLCs, right? So, and what one thing that has just kind of plagued video games in the last 15-ish years is companies, especially AAA companies, being really scammy, disgusting bitches when it comes to DLCs. And like, they're building their game fully and then cutting some of it off knowingly just to sell it to you as extra. And it's nice to hear, or get the impression at least, that they know that they want to add more content to the game. They know that they're going to do it, but they haven't figured out exactly what they want it to be. And so the game that we're going to get here next Friday it's a complete game. They look at it as a complete game, and then now they're just asking the question of, what do we want to add to it that will make it better, that will be worth the cost to the customer, which is good, is great. I think that's a great way to approach DLC. You build the game you want first, and then you start thinking about, okay, what can we do to add more content to make this more enjoyable?
I think they're doing that with the Tekken Ball also. I mean, they said that they want to see how popular it kind of goes to determine whether or not they're going to move forward. We know that in the main hub, there's apparently a bowling alley, so they are leaving room for that to come back. I personally am just hoping that they listen to the fans. People want that team battle back, and I am 100% on board with that. I want a 3v3. I would drop a single tournament for, teams. That would be great.
Right. Which, I mean, that's one of those things where I feel like most people share that same mentality. I think the problem is, and always has been, time, right? Like, people, I think that everyone kind of knows that the first to two can be kind of random, right? It can be pretty random, and that's kind of it's one of the things that makes tournaments more, enjoyable, because anything can happen. But you also know that maybe the best person is not winning every set. And there have been tournaments that have done first to three throughout the whole thing. But there's always a time constraint. Like, especially for bigger tournaments, it's just not feasible.
Yeah.
Tekken just takes
it would
forever.
take a lot more.
Yeah. And I feel like
But
team is the same kind of way.
Well, with team, I mean 3 different people. I would love to have tournaments where you have teams of 3 people going up. The only thing that I see as a problem is you end up with that one super stacked team, so you would have to do some kind of like draft picking or something.
Right.
Seeding. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. I don't know, man. That's something for you to take out the old notebook and draw us a path.
I've given it a little bit of thought, and I can't, with the amount of thought I want to put into it, I can't think of a solution.
Right. Yeah. That's always
in my dream.
Yeah, that's always the hard thing with competitive play and trying to introduce stuff like that is like how do you balance it? How do you do it in a way that makes sense? And that's one of the things that certain video games will always have over a game like a fighter is because, they can do a lot of their work online and everyone recognizes it as being fair, just because it doesn't need quite as immediate feedback, right, as a fighting game does. And I will say, online is certainly a lot better now than it was in the past, but you look at a game like or games like shooters, right? Shooters have been playing their tournaments and their professional stuff online for 30 years. So it's like before everyone had internet, they were on dial-up doing it and everyone's like, this is totally fair. And we just haven't had that luxury.
Yeah. They only have to balance out, 5-10 weapons or something, and we have to do entire rosters with 200 moves.
Yeah, but they also figured out how to like incorporate lag and latency into their games a lot better. And it's just hard with a fighter because the game is just so much different. If the online is not really good, you're playing such a different game online versus offline. And like I said, it's gotten a lot better. Like if you have a good connection with somebody nowadays, it's more or less playing the same as offline, but that has not been the case forever. I mean, we've only had, I guess Tag 2 was okay, because they built the game specifically with input lag to try to help with the online play. But at least for players like me, it just made it feel sluggish. Like I did not like playing the game offline or online. And that was the first game where we really had good online, because the very first online Tekken was DR, that was trash. The online was terrible.
Breaking trash online.
Yes, exactly. And then T6, same exact deal. Absolute
a little better online.
Though. It was a little better, but not great.
I think it took a huge step down the next game.
Well, the game itself was a huge step down, but the online was better.
You felt that? Because I felt like the game, like they tried to build all of the extra latency into Tag 2, and that extra latency just ruined for me.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like the game itself was bad because of that, but the online experience was better. So, because T6, I don't know if you remember playing T6 online. It was god awful. It was awful. You would never.
Yeah, I played very little online for that.
Yeah. But Tag 2, you could actually play it, but the game just felt like junk in general, whether you played offline or online. T7, they finally, figured it out a little bit, and then slowly refined it. And at least, with the CBT, I didn't get a chance to play a CNT, but with the CBT, felt good. Felt like more or less a step in the right direction from Tekken 7. So
I plan on being more active online. So if any of the listeners want to send me a friend request or whatever, I'm there. Maybe we throw our handles in there. I don't know.
We can. Yeah, that is definitely one thing that we can do. I guess that loops back with the feedback thing that I was talking about at the beginning when we opened up. If you guys want to, the one thing that I will mention now before anyone sends us any requests, because I have in the past, like people who just randomly would come across the Twitch stream or YouTube, whatever, ask for some games, and they're not like anywhere close to us. And those are not great experiences. So like it's possible to
have good internet.
Yeah, it's possible to have an okay connection to maybe somebody in Europe, but it's still not going to feel great because we are in the middle of the United States, so it's a long way to travel. So we'll probably keep it, if you want to get some matches in with us, I think that we're both open to that. We'd probably just keep it to the U.S., Canada, and, maybe Central America, the rest of North America. Once you start passing oceans, things get a little dicey. So, or continents, I should say. Once you start trying to connect to other continents, it gets a little messy. But I'm open to it. So, but that's yeah. So I think that was a good discussion about TWT. Did you have anything else before we fully move on to Tekken 8?
Sorry, I totally sidetracked us there at the end, but no, that's all.
Nope,
for that.
I'm A-okay with it. Those sidetrack conversations is what makes podcasts. So I'm about it. So what we'll do, like I said, we were splitting this up into 2 parts. So we just finished the first part, obviously, where we talked TWT and amongst other things. But the second thing is kind of a more second part, I should say, is the thing that I wanted to create a video on and just couldn't really think of a really super good way to do it. So what we're going to do is talk about what to expect with Tekken 8. So this is going to apply to two people or 2 kinds of people out there. First is that this is like brand new to you. Like you're just coming into Tekken, or maybe you started playing Tekken right at the end of T7's lifespan. Or if you just haven't really paid attention to anything, like you weren't really, you've seen maybe some trailers, but you haven't really looked at what's happening. You're just like, oh, that looks kind of cool. And then you moved on and you just haven't really taken the time to look into stuff for T8. So with that being said, what we're going to do, the system stuff we're going to put aside. Everybody is going to be figuring out this new heat system and all the various quirks that they've made or changed in terms of like get ups and running and all that stuff, which is universal. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to just go through all of the characters that are going to be in the starting roster and just talk for a minute about what we expect based on what we've seen. What to
expect when you're expecting.
Yes, what to expect when you are expecting a Tekken 8 release. So I'll actually start us because Dan and I haven't really we haven't powwowed, like we don't have anything written down. We're just going to kind of go off of our thoughts here. And Dan, of course, you have been paying a lot more attention to stuff than I have. So I expect to lean on you quite a bit during this section, but I will start us off just to kind of give everybody an idea of how this is going to go. So since the one character that I have kind of looked at a lot, it has been Leroy. I'm going to start with him. So with Leroy, initially when he released in Tekken 7, he was just an unstoppable force. Like he was totally broken. They overtuned the hell out of him. And something had to be done. So they made a lot of nerfs and made him a lot more balanced, but they kind of overdid a little bit where now at the end of Tekken 7, he's probably in that mid to low mid tier. And it's kind of, he's lost so many tools that he really has to play a really kind of a pigeonholed style. But it's not that he's not strong. He just, needs a couple tools to get him into that top echelon. So with Tekken 8, with the heat system, well, they made a couple of changes to him, but what you can expect with Leroy is that he's going to play differently in the sense that they moved at least one of his big neutral tools, his Hell Sweep, into his stance. So I'm stealing a term straight from Dan here, but he is a bit more stance locked in Tekken 8 than he was in Tekken 7. If you really want to put on pressure and try to open up people who are overly defensive, you're going to have to go into your stance a lot, and it's a lot riskier of a gameplay than it was in Tekken 7, because they nerfed the damage for one on a lot of his lows, and now his Hell Sweep is in the stance, so he's got to get to stance in order to use that. But A lot of how good he's going to be is going to depend on how people end up playing Tekken 8, which is to say that if you are swinging into him, or if you're playing the Leroy, if they are swinging into you, he still has a ton of really powerful counter hit options. So if the game ends up being really fast paced, he can probably keep up. But once it starts to slow down, if we end up seeing a high level meta that's like Tekken 7, where things slow down and it becomes really, really defensive, he's probably going to struggle a lot more than other characters. So that's what you can expect from Leroy in Tekken 8. So if you're looking at Leroy, just kind of keep those things in mind. So I don't know if you have a particular character you want to jump to next, Dan. The way that I have it broken up here on my list is that I have the CBT character lists. Which I mentioned that one because the CBT was cracked, right? So not only did we get the characters if you played during the CBT, but anybody that wanted to, if you wanted to go out and find the crack, you could go and keep playing those characters. So we actually got more of a full view of those characters. And then the second category of characters I have are the demo characters, the extra ones that we got from when that got cracked, so we got to see more of them, which would be Shaheen, Steve, Panda, and Devil Jin. And then everyone else that wasn't part of the CBT or demo crack is just move lists only. Like, that's really all we've gotten to see so far. So I don't know, the most logical place to me, I think, is to start with the CBT characters, which is why I just jumped on Leroy. But if there's do you have a particular character, or do you want me to just start going down this list?
Yeah, let's go CBT. Let's go alphabetical. I would just throw in a couple 2 cents on Leroy here.
Yeah.
I would say that the stance locked part is his like high reward and even maybe a little riskier gameplay, but he's very good at like a chippy, safe, low risk but very low reward style. Outside of that, what he's going to really have to lean on are his counter hit tools, because he's got some good counter hit tools now.
Agreed. 100%. Okay, so you want an alphabetical order. Okay, so I don't have them in alphabetical order, so I'm going to do the best I can. So Asuka.
Asuka.
All right, what do we say about Asuka?
She is... Well, I can say that there was already reports that they nerfed her while standing 1+2. If you didn't know it, it used to be a counter hit tool that could be canceled, but also if you did get that counter hit, you got a full launch for insane amounts of damage. Both her and June lost their counter hit while standing 1+2. I think it just knocks down now. But beyond that, Asuka, I think, is actually really, really strong. There's a lot of people out there. I know, like Fergus, he thinks she's really weak, so I'm just going to throw that in there. You can watch Fergus's content if you want to know why he thinks she's weak. But they did give her both her 1-3 and 1-2 are natural hit now, which used to be one of her biggest flaws, was the lack of a 10-frame punish. But her damage is just really good. She's just built around this new option that she has where she gets resources. Hers is Gusto. So she can cancel moves or end the move with her recovering, where she points at the person and then she starts, glowing in smoke. And when she gets that, she gets access to improved chip factors, but also new properties for some of her moves. My absolute favorite one is she's got this like jump punch. It's up 1+2. And if she hits you, like, let's say you do a whole combo and then you do this move after the tailspin, now they get that ground stun that they used to get in Tekken 7, like when you do like a King Rage Drive, where she gets another free hit on the ground. One of the biggest things is you get that unscaled hit on the ground. So she actually does monstrous damage now. But I love her to pieces. She seems to be real built on hit confirms, just like she was before. That's my 2 cents on her.
Cool. Yeah, I have not put a lot of research time into her, so I don't have much to add, because you know far more about her at this point than I do.
And I did a lot of study on her, but also that was my main when the CNT came out. Like, I loved it. She's so cool now. They did give her back her whiff animation on Forward 1. So don't be surprised that you're standing there bouncing on one foot for half a second when you whiff that move.
All right. which is good. That move sucks. So I want them to.
Now if it hits, even on normal hit, she gets a hit confirm to a heat engager. So
yeah, that's rough. All right, the next one is a fun one for both of us. Azucena. So
my absolute favorite character.
Yes, she is super fun. So I know that, we've kind of both discovered at this point, in terms of damage, she seems to be a little on the low side, but she's built I guess this was something that I put out on my channel as well, but it's surprising that she seems to be more of a fundamentals character. Like, she has all of these really, really strong neutral tools, really good crushes, with I guess the one that we like the most, or at least that I like to play around with the most, was while standing 1, stays in crouch the whole time, safe 13 frame counter hit launcher. But she has just all these crazy tools, safe tools, 1+2.
I love it.
A bunch of safe counter hit confirms. She has an orbital that is essentially Brian's, but it hits grounded because sure, why not?
It is really slow though.
It's the same speed as Brian's.
Oh, it feels really slow. I'll at least say that. I'm not trying to fight about it or nothing.
That's fair, but it's the same speed frame wise. So
okay.
Yeah, so
you can't use that as like a block punish or anything.
No, which is one of the criticisms, or one of the things that you'll notice about her, is that she doesn't have a normal hop kick, so she has to rely on a down forward 2 that is similar to Josie's. I know that people have pointed out that her some of her punishing is a bit weaker, on the weaker side because of that. So she doesn't have normal jabs, right? So you can't, if you mash out a 1-2, you probably need to be real good about making sure that it hits, because it's punishable both on block and I'm pretty sure it does not jail, so you can duck it.
Yep.
So that's something you have to watch out for. Her 1-1 is a natural combo that goes to stance, and it is safe. It's a mid-high as well. The thing is that her regular jab doesn't have the best range. So she might be missing, some punishes that other characters aren't. I know the 12 frame punish, I don't think she has anything, right? She has to use her jabs. So that's one of those things
it's less damage. She has a 4-1.
4-1. Oh, that goes to back turn. That's right. Yeah. So what else? What else was the? So she's gonna. I feel like she's gonna be a strong character.
Good pressures. Yeah. Very good normals. If you like playing, a Kazumi or something like that, you're gonna enjoy playing her that way. But she does have so many oddball tools that, if you feel like mixing it up, if you're that type of person to throw some caution in the wind, you've got some curveball type tools that you can throw out there. It's always fun when you actually hit one of those auto parries from Liberator stands. But really, you got to go in knowing that as goofy as this character is, he is strong on a normal level.
Yes, I think the most noticeable thing, well, for people that are looking at more of the normal traditional tools, one of the things that's going to stand out the most is her down forward 1. Her down forward 1 is not only just a really good typical down forward 1, 13 frame mid check, but down forward 1-4 is a mid high natural combo that does 30 some damage, I think, and it jails, which is extremely rare. That just doesn't happen. And then the other thing that, of course, everybody cried about during the CBT was her running 3-2. So you're going to get a lot of mileage out of that if they don't change it at all.
I really hope they don't.
Yeah, because that's going to be the linchpin. Work on your running game, which is easier in Tekken 8, but make sure to work on that if you want to play this character, because that move is not just essential, but it's probably going to be driving most of your offense. So something to look out for that. All right, next character, Brian.
Brian is very strong. He is one of these core old school type characters that people have created an image in their head on how that character should be played, right? He's the taunt character. Well, one of the things that people have been complaining about is the decreased damage on the standing combos. So, like, Taunt Jet Upper does less damage than it ever did before because it starts the scaling. Um, but that said, so people get that locked in their head. Like, if you think you're playing Brian in the exact same way that you're used to, he's going to be different. But the good thing is he's so different. Like, he has been playing the same way for so long, but now he really is. He's different. He has more fun tools because he's got another one of those resource abilities. Like when he does a taunt or when he hits certain moves, he gets the smoke that comes out of him. They call it snake eyes, and he gets
Right.
access to these new moves. One of those new moves is a 13 frame up forward 2 2 2 2 2 3 5 twos. And then that can even become like a launcher in a lot of situations. So he gets a lot of these really great tools. He can do his mock breaker as forward both punches when he has that snake stance, and it works as a power crush or a reversal. He goes through a move, and then he will still get you, and it'll do more damage. So he's really, they expanded on this whole, like, when he's in this stance, he gets extra abilities. Now he has a safe jump move that's, decent to use, that up forward both kicks. But I mean, he still has all of the same moves. Not a lot of them got nerfed. It's really the damage on like the taunt. So now you're kind of forced to use some of these other newer tools if you want to do big damage.
Mhm.
They did change some fun things like up forward 3. That's a normal poopy jump move. Like before, you could get a mock breaker. Like it would knock him on the ground or knock him into the air just high enough where you could hit like a perfect mock breaker. Now, if you hit up forward 3 as a neutral tool, they don't leave the ground; they stay standing. But you still get your free mock breaker, or if they're by a wall, you can hit their jet upper or, whatever. But I think he's basically the same. I think his back one is strong. They gave him new transitions from some of his pokes, like down forward 2-1 goes into sway, and they gave him this new sway 1, which is like a normal hit launcher. So now you can be sitting there doing Hayashida step, and somebody can whiff, and you have like a fast whiff punisher with it, which is something that he didn't really have before.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it though. Like he seems mostly the same, except he has like a couple of these tools now. You just mentioned that fast punisher that he didn't have before, but you're still going to play in the same way, right? It's still going to be that neutral keep away, take advantage of the whiffs, and then when they start turtling up, then here comes the hatchet kicks and the taunts, right? So. Brian is still Brian. He has not gotten weaker, but you'll still play him the same way.
He's very strong.
Yeah. So I still expect the Brian players to still be playing Brian. They're not going to be changing characters anytime soon. Speaking of which, Fang. So Fang, same kind of deal, right? They made this. I'm only going to mention this because they changed this with some other characters too, but they kind of moved around his move list a little bit. So, like for example, his 1+4, which in Tekken 7, which it was a little toe kick to a high, and it's a one input or single input with a 1+4, but it gives you a 2-hit string, which would then give you plus frames if it hit. They moved that, so now it's a crouching move. So and it's a 2-hit or a 2-command move at this point. So it's full crouch, down forward 1 or down forward 4-1. The reason that I mention this is because he can now do that from his crouch dash. So you do the crouch dash, which was a huge thing in Tekken 7, like having that crouch dash 1 as kind of like this long range poke to get yourself in. He now has kind of, a mix up with, he can do that low kick, and after the low kick, he can go to stances. So he doesn't have to finish it if he doesn't want to. It's going to change the way that he plays the game a little bit. And then they've kind of made these small tweaks to his stance moves to change those as well. So you're going to be playing Fang the same way, but his tools are going to look a little different as you do that. And I know a lot of people have been making emphasis on that new move that he has, back 3, which is a really, really easy way for him to get in. It's a long range knee that gives him advantage on block. which
A lot too.
yeah, which truthfully is just one of those things where he didn't really have a problem getting in on people in the first place. So I don't think that that's going to change the way that you approach him. It's just a more brain dead way to do it, right? It's just a very easy tool to use to accomplish that.
I think the move that you mentioned, the full crouch down forward 4, that's one of his biggest buffs. I think the back 3, while it's nice to have frames, it's more of like a pressure for people who feel like they need to hold the frame advantage, right? It's
Right.
good for that. Maybe if you're in heat and you're trying to find ways to chip people, you're like, here's a move where I guarantee that they're going to have to block another move or something.
Right.
But like you mentioned, that full crouch down forward 4, but also his while standing 1. Now he has a new follow-up while standing 1-3, I think it is, and that does a lot of damage. It buffs his 13 frame while standing punish, and it also gives him this power option for like approaching people, because you're not going to duck the second hit if you think they're going to do while standing 1-2, but now you have this extra tool. So his whole approach game, that's what got buffed.
Yeah, I agree. So he's going to still be strong, though. Like the Fang tools that you're used to are still going to be there. Down forward 3, still a safe mid launcher. Down forward 1, still super strong. Back 1 is still there. Back 4, all the stuff that you would consider, his best stuff is still there. But as Dan just said, his approach game is just getting that buff. So if he wants to get in on you, it's not all going to be crouch dash 1+2, that headbutt. That's not going to be the only thing that he has now. He's going to have a lot more tools. All right.
That forward 3 also, because he can do forward 3 too.
Right.
So it's a safe option.
Yeah. All right. So moving on, Huarong. So I think he's a chip monster beast, right? I haven't looked like too deep on the frames, so I don't know if anything special changed, but
Chip monster beast. All of his flamingo moves kind of got buffed and tweaked and reanimated, and maybe not all reanimated, because I think they just outright gave him new tools. But it makes it a lot harder for you to just kind of wait him out or anything like that. He's got these tools that just continue the offense. He's got like a back turn low, or a low that leaves him in back turn, that he can do from one of the flamingos. And then another flamingo has a similar looking low, but it goes to like a high move, harder to interrupt or harder to duck. They added to his confusion. That's what they did.
Gotcha.
And that makes him a better chip monster.
Better monster, and I think most importantly, if you play Huarong in T7, you're going to do the same nonsense that you were doing in Tekken 8. Or you're going to do
They
the same
also gave him better wall carry significantly with the up forward both kicks, because now you can do it out of flamingo and you can do it into flamingo and then do it again. So now he has kind of his missed punches that carry for wall. So he can really take advantage of his launchers a lot better, because while he always did incredible damage, I would say his wall carry wasn't like his best feature.
They gave him the old bake cancels.
Yeah.
If anyone remembers that, you could. The move looked different, but same concept.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so moving on from Huarong. So here we go, Jack. So early Vegas odds have him pretty high on being one of, if not the best character in the game. So if there's anything specific you can throw out there, obviously do so. But my synopsis for him is pretty simple: is that pretty much every game, it seems, he is absorbing other big characters. So like he has absorbed Gigas, and he has absorbed some of Marduk somehow. So he got the new stance, he's gotten some new moves, but they are also familiar moves. So he seems like he's going to be a problem to deal with. But was there anything?
He is an absolute monster. Yeah. His 1-1 is natural hit now, and that's an 11 frame punish. It goes into his new stance, and his new stance is really good. Like the whole T8 philosophy that they've been trying to push is this aggression. And if you played Jack back in the day, you know how he's kind of this spacing character. So I think they put extra emphasis on enhancing his offense, and it shows. He's got these great tools that go into his new stance, and he can do a power crush from that stance, or he can do the gigas throw, or and that's important because you don't want to be in a stance without a grab when everybody has these great power crushes. But they made him what he should be, in that his damage is just through the roof. He does so much now. They even buffed his 13 frame while standing 2, because now he can do while standing 2-1, and hunt for that counter hit the mid.
Right.
But he's also got while standing 2-4, and that goes into heat, and it does a grip of damage. But he's a damage monster now.
Yes, that will be really fun, because I think that they're, especially for the American scene, but also you have to look at guys like Saint, but especially for the American scene, I mean, all 3 of the American guys that were in the TWT finals for this one that we were just talking about earlier, all 3 of them were Jack mains and Jack players. So seems like a little tip of the cap there for us in the US. Maybe we'll finally start to beat some Koreans. We'll see. So next, Jin. So Jin, right? Jin is still Jin, but I don't even know where to begin here. So
he's still Jin. He's still very strong in that regard. They did give him the one tool that he really was missing, and that's that tech crouch low move. Because Jin, his biggest flaw is kind of he can be rushed down, right? Because he didn't have great crush moves. He still had tools, but when you think of all of his lows that he had, even in T7, the only one that really crushed was down 4, and that did no damage. Now he's got this down 2 that's only -14 on block. It's super plus on hit, but it's also a counter hit launcher now, so he's got that. But then they also enhanced some of his other tools to fit the system. They gave him a heat engager from his I don't even know what you call that stance. Zen. They gave him a heat engager from there. They really just kind of fleshed out his Mishima side a little bit. They did take away the launcher off of his Hell Sweep. Now it's a 2-hit combo, but it leads to great Oki. He's considered by many people who kind of casually view it, that they, as we all should, because the game wasn't finalized in any of these versions, but they fleshed out his Mishima side to the point where he's more solid. He can fight. He can hang in anything. He does good enough damage. He's very strong.
That works for me. How about Mom? June. Damage beast for sure. She's a little quirky. She's going to be a little quirky for everybody because she plays off that heat system. So that's a major mechanic. Yeah.
She hurts herself. She heals herself. That whole thing that they do there is you sacrifice some life so that you can do some more damage. If you did play Tag 2, or if you really like June, maybe go look at Tag 2 just to brush up on the move list if you have it there. Otherwise, obviously wait and look at what she has now. They really fleshed out a lot of those moves from Tag 2. She plays very similar to that, but her stance, she has a stance that reverses both lows and grabs. She has great range with some of these new spears out of the ground that are similar to the unknown ones from Tag 2. So she's very good at her damage, and you really got to watch out, because if she does get you by a wall, it's really going to hurt.
That stance one is always funny to me, because it's very much oh, I'm going to counter somebody who's trying to counter my power crush. That's what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. Somebody who's trying to read a power crush from me, I'm going to punish you for it. But all right, so how about Dad? Kaz, right? He's probably the easiest of the bunch because he's Kazuya, classic Mishima. The Hell Sweep stuff is still there. The Vortex has not changed.
Nope.
New strings though and stuff to give him bigger damage. Obviously playing off the system, but I don't know anything. I don't know if anything jumps out at me that says oh, this Kaz is going to be way different than any other Kazuya.
He's again, this is kind of the theme where they get rid of some of the really crazy broken stuff, and then they give him new tools that are really great. And he's he's very strong in that regard. I know initially in the CNT he had the most broken string in like the history of Tekken, but they totally nerfed it. Now it's launch punishable on block. That's that down forward 3+4 1-2.
Yeah, that big, yeah. I think everybody at this
Yeah.
point knows which one you're talking about. Yeah.
I just trying to be thorough there.
Yeah.
But so that's still there, but it is not guaranteed on counter hit at all anymore. It's not nearly as abusable, but it is great on the wall. Like it does a grip of damage on the wall. But what they did to help make him more solid is they did give him some more, I think, tools where if you like to hit those perfect electric wind god fists, you can do that, because now his counter hit hell sweep is one of those. So if you get a counter hit hell sweep, you can hit a perfect wind god fist and continue with the combo. They did give him his 13 frame punisher, because before all he had was axe kick, and that did less damage than his 2-2. His 2-2 is actually now it's a safe 2-hit string. It's not like a 12 frame punisher anymore. He does still have his 1+2 as his 12 frame punisher, and that's not a heat engager. But they gave him this down back 1-2, and that is a 13 frame mid and hits grounded, and it's really good damage. It's also a heat engager, and it also serves bonus like character individuality features, and that you can do it at the end of a heat slide, and that's when you do your heat blast, and then your heat you use your heat dash in the same combo. He can hit that at the end, and it really helps with his wall carry. So what I do like is if he wants to do mega damage, now he kind of has to lean on those electrics. But he doesn't get the absolute total broken damage out of his electrics anymore. Like, they nerfed the damage just a little bit on electric. And it is more fair. I know that people like to tout the whole skill versus, like, why am I playing this character then if the skill isn't rewarded? Well, there does get to be a point where you have to balance that out too, because a lot of the skill stuff, I mean, people spend years of their life studying these things on
They
how
just
to
become
do it, where
specialists.
it gets to be,
Yeah.
it gets to be a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
So they nerfed it to where it's a little bit more fair. But if you go and you watch these YouTube videos of Kazuya doing these combos, where like now he's hitting 6 electrics after
Right.
a low parry, just
Right.
a low parry. He's doing more damage off of a low parry than anyone, but it's still not like it's more fair, I think. But they also gave him new juggle filler to really flesh out his wall carry. So now if you want to hit like 4 electrics and then hit your flop move, I'm sorry, that's a flop move to me. You hit the flop move and then you do your 3-1 down forward to crouch dash 3. I mean, you just did a whole bunch of damage, and then you still get your wall carry at the end. His combos are very adaptable.
Nice. So yeah, all this additional flexibility in a traditional Mishima package.
His forward 3 is a counter hit launcher now.
Fun.
It's crazy.
And we still have a bunch on the list, so if I feel like I'm pushing us really fast, that's the reason.
Oh,
for it,
yeah,
just so
sorry.
you know. King is the next one. So King is going to be crazy because for those who have not noticed, or if you haven't, looked, like I said before, if you haven't paid too much attention to the CNT, CBT, all that stuff, grabs are way more important in Tekken 8 than they were in T7. And the better the grabs that you have, the bigger boost you're getting in Tekken 8. And not only is King the grab master, but he got a bunch of tools to make those grabs better or to be able to get those grabs. And he's one of those characters that can actually gain back heat meter once he activates it with his grabs. So he is, I think he's another one of those early contenders, just, based on the eye test for one of the better characters in the game, because his grabs
Benefits off the system.
Yeah, he benefits greatly off the system. But in the same way that you would have played him in Tekken 7, he still is going to be that highly pokey style to try to find that opening where he can either get a big punish, like from back 1-2 or whatever, or sneak a grab in which case he's going to take half your life bar. So from the grab plus whatever Oki he gets. So
He has a new stance where he runs at you and he gets
yep.
a power crush while he's running at you, and it leads to an unbreakable grab or a safe mid counter hit launcher. And he's also like they fixed his down forward 1-2. It used to whiff on the second hit, so now it's more consistent for him. It's that kind of thing for him.
Yeah. A lot more refined, and then also benefits from the system. But he's going to feel familiar if you play him. Like if you play as him, you're still going to have your crazy grab chains, still going to have stupid Oki after you hit one of your grabs. And then you're still going to have those really fun things that, execution things. It's not just Kazuya that gets execution. You're going to have your instant shining wizards. You're going to have your instant giant swings. You're going to be able to do your stuff out of crouch dash. So still all of the familiar stuff that everybody loves. But King is always a character that looks cool. So I think it's time for him to be fully top tier. So we'll see if that stands. Yeah. Speaking of top tier, Lars, right? Lars is going to be a problem. I don't know if you want to start. So he's got that third stance now. So for those maybe you weren't super familiar with T7 or T6 Lars, but he has two stances, silent entry and dynamic entry. Now he got a third entry. I don't even remember what the hell the name of it is called, but we
call it French stance.
French stance. Yeah.
Cause it's like, it starts with an L, L-E, so it's French stance, stance.
Le stance, I like it. But they all, just kind of the first two, they threw this third stance in there to kind of link more of his moves together with these stances. And he looks, a lot of people are saying anime, but that's kind of his flavor. Like he's gonna play a lot more, like even more crazy than he did in Tekken 7, because that was kind of how you catch people off guard. You can play him super safe, right? Like he has a good down forward 1, he has good jabs, he has things like down back 2-1. Is it down back 2-1? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, it's down back 2-1. But he's also like, the name of the game with him is like playing that risk card and getting tons of damage and wall carry out of it. So that's my 2 cents. I know you always got some information locked and loaded.
He's another one like King, got really refined, shuffled his stance moves. The new low stance is basically a way for him to mix his full crouch game, which was already pretty good, up with a couple moves that make it stronger. But those dynamic entry and silent entry moves, they got shuffled around so that they're a lot more complete. But they also did things like he had that jumping grab that he would do, and now that's better. They buffed the kick that comes out, and they also buffed the grab itself, because you used to be able to escape it both by breaking the grab and also by tapping down right as he hits you. Well, now you can only break the grab, and it's like more applicable. You can even do it in the middle of combos.
Nice. I didn't know about that. He'll be a fun one to watch how people develop their strategies, because he looks like, when people look at him, it's like, okay, it looks like this character is going to be a problem, but I feel like people kind of said that with T7 Lars, and that didn't fully happen. So
it's in season 2.
Yeah. Next on the list. So this is one of your early picks for one of the tops in the game, Law. So the one thing that I'll say about Law is that he's still Law. You're going to play him in largely the same way. The couple things that you'll notice with Law as you begin to experiment with him is, first, the big one is that they changed how DSS works. So his stance cancel, or the moves that you can cancel into his stance, they changed the way that it works. So it used to be this kind of fairly precise timing of a back forward and then another forward, which we won't dive into. But let's just say that there was a little bit of a timing that you had to do to get that cancel right in order to do his normal stuff, like the stuff that you need to be able to do to win. They changed it so that all you have to do is hold forward now. So you do a move that cancels into this stance, you just hold forward, and he'll go into it. There's still some timing involved in when you press your follow-up attack. So, you're still going to have to practice that a little bit, but I think it's a bit more fair the way that they did it and changed it. So he's a bit easier for entry. So for people who didn't want to play him because of that stance cancel stuff, it's way easier now. The other thing is that they changed the way his slide worked as well. So, well, the stance moves in general, they shifted around. So like he only has one grab out of it now, but they placed a bigger emphasis on his slide being incorporated into his game because his stance has a slide transition. You just hold down forward and he'll go into the slide motion. So you can do your slide out of stance now, or of course you can cancel it into other stuff. So those are the two main ones. Like the way that you're going to play with your stance is going to be a little bit different because they added that stance transition and they made the stance itself easier. But as a result, he's got a lot more to threaten with now. Now, otherwise, a lot of the tools are still going to be the same flavor. You're still going to use lots of down forward ones. His jabs are still really good, even though, they nerfed a couple things with his jab strings. Still really good. Down forward 2, it's the ultimate generic tool. It's been around forever. It will never not be bad. And as long as it stays generic, its generic features. Mm-hmm. He still has a Magic 4 combo. You have to commit to the string now, just like with most characters, but that's still there. Down back 3 is still strong. Back 4 is still strong. All the moves that you expect to be strong from Tekken 7, still strong in Tekken 8. But I know for you, Dan, so the damage, right? That's the thing that you've kind of honed in on. Very heavy character.
He's very damaging. He does really good chip damage. I would add that Scott mentioned that there's only one DSS grab, but that's DSS specific grab. He can still do another grab out of it. But really, it's all about the chip and how he moves with the system now. So he gets a lot of good chip moves, especially if you hit those perfect inputs on his DSS. And I think they gave him more of the common sense counter hit tools too now, because he's got this sidestep 3 that gives him free hits. They gave him this 1-1-1 that's pretty good. So yeah, they really just kind of enhanced him.
Yep. So he's still, if he's gonna, I'm trying to think of the best way to summarize it. He's still gonna feel like Law, but like a bit more refined, right? And a bit less execution heavy. But the execution is still there. It's not gone. Just a little more enticing for people who maybe stayed away from him because of those cancels. So especially like off of stuff like while standing 4, right? That was a big hurdle. You had to be able to do that if you really wanted to be good with Law. And now it's really easy to do it. So, all right. So next character, Lily. So I know she got a lot of buffs. I only I only casually glanced at her, but from what I can tell, her back turn got buffed, her do glide got buffed. I don't know if there's anything specific or a good way to summarize it. Just feels like all those holes that she had in those stances are kind of gone. So she's a lot better now. But did you have anything more specific?
I mean, what you said about her back turn getting better, I think that's the biggest thing. So now she's got better and less easier to see options out of back turn. So now you really want to keep her away from being back turn near you, but she's still super evasive. They enhanced some of her combos, like now she can do back 1 into back 1 or even back 2-1. So they gave her I want to say more skill-based wall carry that can really enhance it. You don't have to play with those types of things, but if you want to make her extra strong, it's kind of like King. We mentioned King. They enhanced King. They made him stronger. They gave him the Just Frame Shining Wizard. That's a thing that you don't have to hit, but if you do, it's really going to help you out. With Lily, she's got these extra wall carry options. And then really, she was given motivation to be near you in back turn, so you really don't want it.
All right, so next, so this character has a very big move list, so we're going to have to do our best to try to condense the talk about this, but she's going to be a problem. Ling Xiaoyu. I know you have you have a lot more specifics than I do. I know A lot of her normal BS from T7 is still there. Like, obviously, AOP is going to be very strong. She still has crossovers, which they changed the input of the move. It's not, what was it? It was up forward 1+2, I think. Now it's just up back 2 or something like that. But anyway, the crossovers are still there. The weird, junky stuff, like, she's still going to be shifty. She's the same character, but stronger.
Yeah, she's very similar to how she was. They enhanced that. They gave her the waning moon, so she now has a launching grab. They really emphasized her hypnotist stance, which was kind of underused in Tekken 7, because they gave her a low out of it. And now the more steps that she takes, like, these moves get better frames as they go. If you take so many steps, that low becomes a launcher for her. And then they made her forward 2-1 jail, so it's mid-high or whatever. And now you can't duck that second hit, and that I'm told is a big deal because it does go into hypnotist. So she's very strong. She's very similar to how she's always been, but enhanced by the system, enhanced with that grab.
Right.
Not a lot really to say though.
Good. We can move on to the next one. So this one will be fun. Nina. So we have a few Nina specialists in our group. The guns are obviously new. That's an obvious one. But I think you, because of, our fellow chaps that play Nina, I think you probably have looked at Nina more than I have. But it seems like she's gonna, like, kind of just like we talked with Ling, like, she's the same Nina, but she's stronger because of these additional refinements.
Yeah, she's very similar in her style, but what they did is they took all of her weird strings and they made them safer. Before, it was like, you see Nina kick, you immediately duck, whether it's the down forward 3 or whatever. But now she's got options to flesh it out. So now she has, like, I think down forward 3-3, where it goes mid, and it's even safe. And then instead of having down 3-2, which is nice, it's a fast counter hit launcher that ducks highs, or it used to be. Now she has down 3-4-3, so it's a 3-hit string and it's all counter hit guaranteed. So it's not quite the safe, or the only -12 counter hit launcher. So she's a little bit safer. She gets to even finish it on reaction, I believe, but now they have to duck if they want to stop that at all. But the guns, obviously, like you mentioned, biggest part of her changes. She gets chip damage with every gun that you block, or every bullet that you block. And then she even has some strings where you have to choose, are you going to duck so that you don't get that chip damage? Or are you going to stand so that if she does a mid, you don't get hit for it? But otherwise, very, very good. Very strong. They did nerf some of the BS, like back 4 doesn't give her the full launch anymore on counter hit.
Yeah, I know they took away her breath stuff, right? Or at least a launch off of it. So, yeah, made her more like you said, the useless, or I will add goofy strings or goofier moves. Took away that stuff, but made her more refined. And also a theme that has been throughout this is that she fits the system better, right? The refinements are geared towards, the chip damage or whatever. So,
so she does a lot of chip, and then she also gets this balance of moves that take away your white bar.
Right.
So it's a whole synergy thing for her too.
Right. All right. And then the classic, OG classic Paul. So Paul is Paul, right? What do you say? He's Paul. He's Paul, except they gave him heat. They gave him stuff on top of the normal Paul stuff to fit the system. Having heat and then being able to do a bunch of death fists that are really awesome and safe is pretty rad. So yeah. I don't know what really to say, right? Like, he has it's like every other character we've been talking about. Like, he's still Paul. He still has Death Fist. He still has Demo Man. Kind of like Law. He has a lot of those generic tools like down forward 1, hop kick, whatever. I guess
they enhanced his approach game.
The double crouch dash. Right. Yeah, that's a big one.
And now he can do like some some of the back sway moves out of the double crouch dash. He can even do the idiot flip for fun, which I absolutely encourage anyone to do.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, double crouch dash 3+4. It's super fun, and it's my favorite combo ender. um, But Paul's one of those ones that he's in the demo, so we get even more time with him and everything.
Right.
But one of the things they did is they made him more spatially strong. Like his mix-ups, they used to be really he'd be really good at like the mid-lows. You can Death Fist or you can Demo Man, but now he's better with the spacing because they gave him like a 1+2 move that he can charge all the way up to an unblockable, but he can also like focus attack cancel it too, so he can like go into back sway. And yeah, he's still the same Paul. They buffed some stuff, they nerfed some stuff, but he's basically the same.
Right. And then one of the newer ones, but ones that one of the characters we did get for the CBT, Raven. So my contribution to the Raven thing is that he more or less seems the same as Master Raven, but because of the weird clone stuff, like the strings look a little different, but they're still being used in the same manner. But it seems like they did nerf quite a bit. I don't know. I didn't do it too deep of a dive on him, but I just remember when the CBT came out and everyone was doing testing on him. I don't know. He hasn't gotten a lot of looks from a lot of people because everyone was kind of underwhelmed by the stuff he got. He didn't seem like he was too different from Master Raven to like. I don't know.
So the first time you fight against Raven, you're going to be totally surprised. That clone stuff, like all of his recoveries feel different. He is very much the same, and once you get used to the changes and everything, you'll approach him the same way. He's basically more high reward in a lot of ways. The clones help with his wall carry and everything too, but he's more spatial, he's more aggressive, but he is still very punishable. So he's more of a high risk, high reward character than he used to be. And yeah, you definitely want to put him in practice mode as soon as the game comes out.
Right, definitely one of those characters that will sneak up on you if you don't pay attention to him. Which I gotta get on top of myself because like he's one of the ones that I'm gonna have to focus on. And I guess I forgot to put this guy into the alphabetical list, but Claudio. So Claudio seems like Claudio, except I guess we've been talking about this a bunch at this point, but that to fit the system, he's one of those chip characters, right? So
Monster chip character.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the 2 or 3 best at chip. Claudio is very similar. Like, if of all the characters in the game, he is the most like his Tekken 7 form, in my experience. When the CNT came out, that's all that my kid played was Claudio. But now his running 2 did a whole lot of chip damage. I don't know if they nerfed that or anything. Out of his Starburst, he used to have, this great, like, down 2-2 low move that would launch. It doesn't launch anymore. The mid one, it's still there. It's still a launcher, but so he got some buffs. He got some nerfs. He's got a lot of hit confirms. That's one of his big things. So he's really good at using heat. He's good for the chip. He's really good for getting into it with these hit confirms. They did give him a long range bow and arrow that you can use when he's in Starburst. So be on the lookout. He's got a projectile.
Yeah, the projectiles you always have to watch out for projectiles. All right, so I think that wraps up for the CBT characters. So the demo characters, the ones that got unlocked or cracked so that we got a more full look of them. I'll start with Devil Jin. Seems to be a lot of the old Devil Jin stuff, but they really, really did a number on like his fly and how you can use that. And I have not touched him myself, of course, because I did not want to put in that extra effort to try to, because you can't play him directly. Like the way that they cracked him is that you have to like do something and put his move list onto Jin or some nonsense. But but I know that we had that Red Bull event not that long ago where people were playing Devil Jin. So I think he has a separate stance, right? He has his fly, which got tweaked.
Morning Pro.
Yeah, but then he got a different fly stance. So I don't really know. He's one that some people have looked into him. I haven't really looked into like his frames too much, but I know his wall carry is crazy. Seems like he's just going to be a crazy Mishima. Your thoughts?
So, leaning on, especially they just had that Red Bull pin drop for a lot of the information on him. But the Morning Crow is very good. He's got like a projectile, and his isn't like a resource one like Claudio's, where he had to be in Starburst. He can throw out these chains, and it's like 14 frames, and then he goes into the flying stance, and I think if you block it, he has his frames, and if it hits, like some of those Morning Crow options are totally free. But really, Devil Jin got an entire makeover on his moves. Like a lot of them look completely different, but at the same time, he is the same character. It's just what they did with these moves is they made him a much longer Mishima. So now he can really like carry the wall with that fly stance. And they nerfed his hell sweep, but they also buffed it at the same time, because now he's got this second hit that like flips right away, but that's his only way of comboing off of hell sweep.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I need to see him. I need to try out all of his frames and everything, because he wasn't in the demo, he wasn't in CBT, he wasn't in CNT, but he does seem to be huge damage, so he could be one of the best.
Right. Well, speaking of, that's actually the kind of the theme of these next couple characters. Panda and Kuma. So we got a look at them in the demo crack, but clearly what we were getting in the demo crack was not a complete version, because they have differentiated between the two now. I could be wrong about this, but I think they've only differentiated them between with their heat, what they can do out of heat, and then with their supers, which they were different in T7 as well. But I think that's where the main differentiation is. Maybe they have other moves, different in like normal non-heat moves that are different, that I just didn't
early
notice,
indications. But, yeah, you're right on that.
But huge damage, insane damage from these characters.
Insane damage. Those characters got so buffed. They're so much easier to use now, and you're going to notice this because I'll talk about it when we get to Yoshi also, but they're a character where they kind of got rid of some of the janky tactics, and they made them more solid overall. This character, like, learning on a mountain how to fight like Heihachi, and now he has an Electric Wind God Fist, or Electric Wind Bear Fist.
Yeah.
Fresh Wind Bear
EWBF.
Fist, isn't it?
I don't
something
know.
like that.
EW
He's got
Boof.
that move. They're monster chip damage. I saw this one where he does a fully charged Salmon Hunter. It's not unblockable anymore, but it does like 20 plus chip damage just because you blocked that move. They're just monsters. Now the roll can hit you like just on a normal transition, so he can hit you with the roll and then hit you with the follow-up hit. They can guard break. They don't have a hell sweep anymore, so that's kind of a nerf. Like, it's still there, but it doesn't knock down. It's
no combo.
+6.
Yeah.
But what's really scary is his down back 2 goes into Hunting Bear. So that's wild to me.
Yeah, that'll be fun. So they got enough burfs. Jesus.
I love it.
They got enough burfs that it's not just going to be a random like one-off Korean that's going to be winning with these characters anymore. You can't, especially in a game that prioritizes damage the way that Tekken often does, you cannot ignore them. Like, they're just, because it's not like they're garbage. Like you just mentioned a bunch of things that they can set up that damage and get pressure going. So these
more solid. Like, they have the back 2-1 that's a mid-high. Now they have a back 2-2 and it's mid-mid. Yeah. So you can't just instantly react and go, oh, well, I'm not going to let that happen.
Yeah, this is a character I guess that they were good good enough in Tekken 7 as well, but these are definitely characters that you're going to have to put some time into. You are going to see them in tournaments and they will annihilate you or ranked, whatever. And they will just mop the floor with you if you don't pay attention to them. Okay, next one. I talked a little bit about this last episode, but Shaheen. So he's still Shaheen, right? He's still like a basic playstyle, but they, again, kind of like with some other characters we've talked about, more refinements. So he has more, not just new moves, but he has new moves that he can go to his sneak. They changed his sneak frames in general off of a lot of things so that those transitions are going to be more aggressive, because he gets more frames out of those transitions. So he also, his heats, he's another one of those characters that's going to be really good in chip because he has a really easy to use, what is it, up forward 1, up forward 2, whatever, that not only does a grip of chip damage, but gives heat back if he hits you with it. As well as we were talking about some, how they might incorporate 2D characters, 2D guest characters into the game. A lot of, one of the people in our group, but he's not the only one, are wondering if maybe they're gearing up for a Guile type play with Shaheen because of Shaheen's new move, that tornado move. So
charges.
Yeah, so charge characters, maybe we'll see that. Maybe some early experimentation with that. But he just seems really good, and with his new moves and everything, he's still gonna be basic, but you're gonna be able to do, I think, a lot more of the sneak transitions, a lot more sneak pressure, and then he's gonna be a chip heat monster. So that's my quick synopsis. Anything to add on that?
No, we're good on that one.
Cool. All right, now here's a fun one. So Steve, I think we can just say that Steve is Steve. Steve is always going to be dumb. He's never not going to be dumb. They're never going to figure out how to balance this character. They're just not. He's going to be ridiculous. We're already seeing people with these really stupid combos coming out. Back one didn't go anywhere. Back one's still there. Still the same as far as I know. I don't think there's been any nerfs to the flicker transition or anything like that. So he's just still Steve. He's still Steve. I don't know what else to say. Like, this character is never not going to be strong. He's going to be stupid. The brand new system, and somehow he just fits perfectly in that system. Like, it's just, I don't know. I don't know what to say about Steve anymore. He's one of my most hated characters.
He's in heat, and then he does the duck machine gun punches on you.
Yeah.
All of this stuff.
It's dumb. I hate this character. I hate that they added him ever.
Actually, what they did is with how they made Steve in this game, they actually spit in your face and said, "Yeah, we know."
yeah. We know exactly what we're doing.
They gave him a new stance. They gave him, and that new stance is really good too.
Yes, it's extremely good. Yeah.
He has a guard break right out of it. He doesn't even need to be in heat to get the guard break. A lot of the characters that have those, they either have to charge up some stupid move or something like that. This is like, here, duck into a launcher or block this move.
Yeah, it's like, why would you need to do two ducks? We won't make you do that anymore. Just go straight to this new stance. Then you have it. Dumb character.
They actually got rid of the 2-duck one, apparently.
Yes, yeah, they got rid of it. I don't even think it gives
any chip damage, though.
Yeah, I don't even, and it's still, it's still, if you hit somebody with it, it's still a launcher. It just doesn't do the guard break anymore, which is, from my guess, is that they probably did that for like combo filler, because they moved the guard break to the new stance, so they're like, well, what can we do? Well, we'll just make it, damage or something. But anyway, Steve is Steve. I don't want to spend too much time on him because I hate him. Next, okay, so now the rest of the list that I have here, hopefully I didn't miss anyone, but the rest of the list are just characters that, well, either we got a glimpse of them at this Red Bull thing, but I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but they were doing some exhibitions where characters got more of a closer look. But the rest of the characters I'm going to mention are not any that showed up in a CBT or the demo or the crack demo. These are all just characters that, strictly speaking, the vast majority of us have only seen their move lists. So the first one is Alyssa. So I know Alyssa is one that you have taken a little bit of a look at because we have somebody who is an Alyssa player, but she... I don't know if you guys were watching the Red Bull event, but it sounded like you guys were looking at something where you were getting a better look at what her moves can do.
Well, we did see it in the Red Bull event. I haven't gotten to that part because I've had to watch the Red Bull pin drop in pieces. I've watched a lot of videos of the different times that people have played as Alyssa, but also because I was talking to Cubby about it. When I was talking to Cubby about it, we were reviewing the trailers and the move list. So in the trailer, you can actually see quite a bit of the changes that are going on, and even from the Polish move lists. But like she has like a hell sweep out of her fly stance now. They really did do a lot of changes to the chainsaw. It's really strong, and obviously it's going to probably be the chip damage that you're most afraid of for her. But that, yeah, they gave her a lot of enhancements. She looks really fun. She's fresh. Don't really have a lot to say about her.
Yeah. Well, yeah, these last several,
Good wall filler.
I don't expect a ton of discussion because, nobody really has had any time to get any glimpse of her frames and stuff like that. So, or really test stuff, really. So,
She has a power crush from Crouch now, and that's kind of huge because her Crouch game is so good.
right. All right. Well, here's another fun one, Drag. So again, just a moveless character, but you probably I'm sure noticed a lot more than I did. But running two, still great. And got a little bit of a buff.
Chip.
Yeah, got a little bit of a buff not only because the chip, which fits the system, but also has a just frame version. They also gave him some new moves that look pretty sick. That are in that heavy hitting, Dragunov style. But I think he looks though more the same. He's just going to be a little more powerful because of chip damage and things like that. But anything jump out to you?
Yeah, they fleshed him out too. He had strings like where he how to say this. He had strings like forward 4, right? Where the only option was a high or a low move. So now he has forward 4-3, and that's a high to a mid, and it's also one of his flop moves. They gave him full crouch down forward 4-1, and there's even a just frame for it. But that's really important because now when he hits you with that down 2, he's got a legitimate mix-up right in front of you. And I'm guessing just because it's low, but that low probably tracks also. So now when you get hit with a down 2, you have a lot more to fear in that case. But they also gave him lots of, or not lots, more transitions into his crouch dash. So he can enhance his combo filler. They gave him the running 4 on the wall is now a grab. So if you end your combo with that, it's pretty good. But yeah, I mean, he is more the same, definitely enhanced. He looks really strong.
Just that refinement theme that we've been kind of talking about, which makes this next one a little interesting. Lee. So the thing that always the thing that I noticed that jumps out to me is really his slide. Like, I don't know how that's, because that was like his one big knockdown threat, and now it doesn't knock down anymore. I'm not saying it's not bad or that it's bad. We don't know yet, but it'll be interesting to see how that kind of mixes in with his game style. Otherwise, I think you pointed this out a little bit, but those just frames that Lees are known for, like the acid rain and stuff, are really going to play an important role with the heat system and chip and everything like that. And then he got, again, those refinements that we keep talking about. So like now he can do while standing 1-2 cancels, with the misstep and everything like that. So we're used to the 1-2 missed cancels or back to missed cancels, but now he's going to have that with wall standing 1-2, which Lee players, the really good Lee players, I'm sure will easily incorporate that because they're already used to doing wall standing cancels for their combos. So
they gave him more reasons to be like skilled and really practice. If you can do that in your combos, yeah, that's probably going to blow up his damage. But even just thinking about that while standing 1-2 as a 13 frame while standing punish, they bucked him in that way too.
Well, he had, they did give him right at the very end. Was it while standing 1-4? They did give him something in T7. So he has that, and then while standing 1-2 is now the kind of mid option. But either way, he looks interesting. There aren't really a lot of high level Lee players, so it'll be goofy. I can think of one that I don't know if he'll ever come back though to like going to competitive events, but yeah, I don't know. Lee is one of those characters where he's execution heavy, but you're not getting the payoff of like Mishima. so you just don't see them as much, but he'll be interesting to see how people grow. Oh,
I think
next.
the people that are interested in Lee are really going to be those people that are interested in trying to win with these skill things. I think he has to be the tastiest looking morsel in that way. Like
Right.
they actually gave him like 4 or 5 new just frames. He looks wild.
Yeah.
And then to know that you can just get your heat back by doing these, a lot of the conditions for getting heat back are like hitting a grab out of a stance or something like that. This is probably one of the most applicable ways to get your
Right.
heat back.
Aside from Shaheen and just spamming up board 1 or something.
Right.
But next on the list, kind of the same deal, that refinement theme, Leo. I don't know. I never was familiar enough with Leo to be able to like look at the gameplay footage and move list and be like, oh yeah, that's new. Like it just feels like they probably got more stuff, right? More refined stuff. I don't know if anything jumped out to you.
They did. They have some new strings that also cancel into like crouch dashes and stuff like that. But I guess the flashiest part about them is they can do their counter, like their key charge moves mid combo now. So some moves they'll hit them, and now they can hit them in the middle of their combos and everything.
Yeah,
I'm gonna guess that their heat property probably has to do with hitting those also. But they look very strong, but just refined. I actually have less details on that one than probably any other character.
Fair enough. So we'll just skip. We'll see. The Leo players will show us. So because there actually are a handful of high level Leo players. So I'm sure we'll see sooner than later. Okay, so now we start to get into some of the characters that are brand
counter
new.
hit down 2. That I guess that's notable. We should mention that.
Down 2. Well, I guess
counter hit down 2 is a counter hit launcher now, which is already a super impressive move, maybe top 3 moves for Leo, and now it's a counter hit launcher.
Yeah, that is really good. I guess I didn't notice that, but yeah, that'll make because you're stuck there if you block it. It keeps doing it. But now we start to get into a couple characters that are brand new. So first, Reina. So, I mean, looks like an impressive Mishima, right? Like a Mishima, what do you want to call it? Fusion with all this other crap that you have to deal with.
She's got like 5 stances.
Yeah, it would be surprising to me if she is not number 1 out of the gate. I don't know how you give all of that crap to a Mishima styled character and you're able to balance it. I don't know.
Nope, there's no debate on it. She's got to be number 1 right off the bat. Watching the pin drop, I can tell you that number 1, she still has 1-1-2. She has 1-2-2. Both of those go into different stances where she has other new mix-ups. Her 12-frame punish is apparently 32 damage, and it looks like you can probably even hit confirm it, which is even more wild. She has a 13-frame heat engager with her down forward 1-2, which is very similar and kind of a nod to Heihachi's down forward 1-2. But she has an electric in all the ways, like it still does chip damage. It's still really quick. I think they said in the pin drop that it might even be as fast as Kazuya's. I don't know how that was. Like, I couldn't hear it very well. So there's a possibility there. But then she has an electric mid kick. And it's apparently safe if you do the electric, and even does chip damage. But even if you don't do the electric, it's a counter hit launcher on, in both forms. It hits grounded. The non-electric version is like -13 only. She still has a hell sweep into double lows, but she also has hell sweep into a high move. And apparently it's like -2 if you hit that, but you can also do it where you go into stance and then she's +6. She has great grounded hitting moves. We know she has like a just frame stomp. So it's like a down 4-1, and if you hit it just right, she gets a spark or something. But no, these stances, some of them, I think, especially in heat, like they auto parry highs and mids, and one's like a punch parry. She has a rolling stance that goes into like a charge up kick, and it'll charge up so far that it even goes into an unblockable. So there is just no limit. I mean, they've already tested out her electric. You can hit it 6 times in a combo easy. So just like any other Mishima.
Yeah, it's remarkable. Now on the flip side of that, Victor. So Victor looks cool and he looks strong, but it seems like they did have like a little bit of a theme going with him where he has some holes, like he has some
Mhm.
weaknesses. I know, one that jumped out, and our buddy mentioned it when they were showing him off, but he doesn't seem apparently does not seem to have a crouch punch. Which doesn't sound like a big deal until you play without one, and then you're like, okay, I use this in certain situations a little more than I thought. Um,
Yeah,
but and then there seems to
his
be
jump
like,
one is a low though.
yeah, but it does seem like he has like some risk and reward to his stuff. Like it's strong moves, but if you read it, if you make the block, or whatever, that you'll punish him pretty hard. So maybe that's not the case. Maybe he has a bunch of options I haven't seen or whatever. But he looks cool. I'll say that he's a very cool looking character. Having that sword and then all the guns and then that Dragon Ball
Yeah,
eye glasses thing power reader that he has, um, is funny. It's very anime, but yeah,
it's got a
anything.
gun.
Yeah. Yeah, more of the bullet stuff, right? That's so he's just a weapon character in general, right? So that's one of those things where you really have to watch for those characters that have the weapons, if you have parries or whatever it might be. And I think just like Nina's, it seems like pretty strong chip from the weapon stuff. So I'm sure he'll play into the heat system with that. Anything else that you noticed?
I mean, the weapons thing is definitely really huge because with all the power crush and everything like that, if you're
Right.
trying to, like we just talked about Reyna, if she's got these punch parries and you've got
No,
moves that
no
are
punches.
sword.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently they gave him Noctis's down back 1/1+2. It's just down back 1/1. But his biggest thing is like now if he wants to sustain an offense, he has to keep transitioning like back into stances and stuff like that.
Mm,
And so you're really playing this game where is he going to keep doing that or is he going to go ahead and take a risk? And if he has to take a risk, he's very high risk, high reward. So he'll be very interesting. We have to see what kind of abusables, come out of his kit.
right. That's the big question mark. Is like what is in there that you can just spam and totally get away with. I'm
He
gonna
does
go.
have a
Oh, go ahead.
Kunimitsu type stance that goes in, like he can do a mix up out of it.
Hmm.
And one of the tools there that I'm really looking forward to is the low move out of it because he has a counter hit while standing 2 launcher that he can do right afterwards.
Mm, interesting. So only a couple characters left. I'm gonna go a little bit out of order, just because I wanna Zafina. So Zafina seems very similar to uh, her Tekken 7 mold. However, again, continuing that theme of refinement, it seems like they are kind of going the story mode route with her a little bit, right? So they're more of those special. What the hell is his name? Uh, a Zulu. I can't remember that boss's name, but where she
Zazel.
Zazzle. Yeah, okay, that's his name. A Zazzle. Where she got the blue arm in the first place. Now she's gonna have more of those moves. Um, so just kind of outfitting her with more things that make sense from a story perspective, but that refine her a little bit. Again, it's been a
Maybe
while.
one of the coolest rage arts in the game with that hand.
Yeah, for sure. But I have not really looked at Zafina close enough in terms of like her entire move list, her entire kit in Tekken 7 to know really like what to look for with her Tekken 8 move list. So I don't know if there's anything that you noticed.
I mean, the biggest things that we noticed, they did really enhance the whole hand aspect. They gave her more moves that involve it. And I'm going to have to guess, just purely speculation,
Chip,
that her
probably.
heat probably has something to do with it too. Like if she
Oh,
hits
sure.
those hand moves, she'll get heat back. But we noticed that the squid punch that she used to have, the really long reaching low with the double hands, can only be done out of Scarecrow now. So I
Oh,
do think
right.
that they're going to make her a lot more stance locked. Um, but she otherwise looks the same.
Yeah.
She does look like she's got some really good hit confirms.
Which makes sense, right? Because that combo ender that's typical in T7, that was an arm move, and also It was not a hit confirmed, but it was like a just frame thing. I feel like there's probably going to be more of that, and then on top of the hit confirms that you mentioned. So I feel like that's one of those little unique things that would make her feel, I don't know, more fleshed out. But and then saving the best for last. So Yoshi. So I'm just gonna let you. It's all you. I don't know.
So he looks like he got significant buffs and significant nerfs. The first thing is they really want to make him more aggressive, because Yoshi was the ultimate turtle before. So now he has a lot more reason to attack. He's got a really long range safe mid and up back both punches. Apparently it does chip damage, and I mean it hits from like range 3 or 4. Hits grounded, and they gave him this property where if some of his sword moves hit, especially if he goes from NSS to sword stance, so like if you do a move that would pull his sword back out, it ends up recovering some of his life. So the focus now is on him hitting people with the sword or these moves to get life back, rather than just sitting back and turtling with it. One thing I can confirm is apparently he does not heal beyond his white bar anymore. And they did nerf a lot of his unblockables. The windmill used to be a real good, like you can just run up and do it, and it's not something you can really react to. Now they made it a lot shorter range where you really have to set it up. He can't end juggles with the unblockable from the sky anymore. But they really fleshed out some of his other tools, like he's better at hitting people for staying on the ground. He's got better mix-ups out of Kin. His flash no longer launches out of when his sword stance is out. It's a plus 14 though, so he can do a back 2-2 hit confirmed to go into heat. So I think they said like in the video it was like 54 damage off of a flash. So it's more of a smaller nerf than people initially thought it was. And then his NSS, he still gets a launcher, and it's one of those moves where he pulls his sword out, so if he hits you with a flash, he ends up getting healed, and then he still gets a combo. But yeah, they solidified his offense. They gave him some more usable strings. They gave him some more abusable tools, like if he's in Dragonfly, he can hit you, more effectively with tracking moves and chip damage. He looks very fun, very strong, but very different. He's more offensive.
Nice. So what's your overall thought? You like it? You don't like it based on what you've seen?
Oh, I have to see him. I have to put my hands on him.
But okay.
They really, it looks like they again tried to flesh out a character. He just, before he was very quirky. You had these tools that look like on paper that they're good tools, but they had no synergy with anything else on his move list. So it's like opponents who are experienced players, you could see some of these and immediately you knew what you were supposed to do defensively. So then the Yoshi player had to sit there and kind of trick you with janky tricks for not very much damage if he actually wanted to succeed. But now he's got more fleshed out game plan. Like he's got a new string. It's 3-2, 1+2. So it's like mid, high into the big overhead up back 1+2. And I think it's like normal hit. If you hit that high punch and maybe counter hit guaranteed the whole string, but then he's got 3-1 where it's like mid and probably riskier heat engager or something. He looks like a lot of fun, but he's way more offensive. He's an entirely different character.
Nice. Well, that'll be fun to see what you can come up with. On that note, he was it. That's why I went out of order. I just wanted to hear what your thoughts were at the very end. I hopefully did not miss any characters, but at the end of the day, not like it matters anyway. We're gonna have the game in a week, so we'll be circling back to everybody at some point. So since we went a little longer because of that discussion, just to kind of give everybody a preview of the characters based on what we've seen and what you can expect from them, we'll skip the normal little ending segment that I said we would do, just because this one went a little longer than normal. But that said, I'm excited. Obviously, everyone's excited for these characters. I think right now, and I'll ask you the same question here, Dan, but for my initial release, I think I will probably focus. I know you said Azu. I know we both like Azu a bunch, just because she seems really fun. But I think for me personally, I'm gonna have to spend a significant time with Reina, and it's hard if she just seems like she's gonna be so stupid that it'll be stupid of me not to like put significant time into playing her and possibly make her the main. Otherwise, the other character that I'm going to place a focus on is going to be Shaheen, because I really like the way he looks. So we'll see how that shapes out. But for you, is it just going to be all Yoshi all the time, other than just random lab time?
Well, it was going to be Yoshi number 1 and Azu number 2, and I was actually going to try to keep 2 characters going. But now it looks like it's going to be co-mains. So they'll probably both be characters I put a lot of focus in. Now, that said, I like the changes for Yoshi offensively, but if I don't have as much fun as I did before, I may actually just leave him, because he kind of represented like the old Tekken jankiness, and in a good way. I say janky, but it's like there's very nuanced things that you could abuse with him defensively and everything. But if it's not fun anymore, like I think I read that meditation stance was incredibly nerfed, then I may just stick with Azu and find a different secondary, in which case I'd probably look at one of these new ones like Reina also, just because she's going to be absolutely everywhere.
Yeah. And I mean, well, and even if just for defensive purposes, right? Like, just a tip to everybody, that character is going to be everywhere. Like, you need to be ready for that. Like, like I said, I would be super surprised if she's not number 1, but there's just zero doubt in my mind that she's not going to be one of the best, even if she's not number 1. And she's going to be everywhere. Like, you
I should say,
have to know how to play. No, I was just gonna say you have to know how to play against her. So
that is entirely the reason that I would look at her, because I do put a focus on picking the fun character and everything. It's just I got to make sure Yoshi is still fun.
Right. Makes sense. All right. So yeah, kids, we are a week away, less than a week away. So I hope everyone is as excited and ready to play this game as we are. I'm mostly just, like I said, since we've been going for a couple hours, I'm just going to do a quick wrap up so everybody can get back to their lives. But expect the, well, I guess, first of all, a huge shout out to the patrons. Obviously love you guys and your support, and it really helps, drive my ambition to keep doing stuff and keep playing the game. And after Tekken 8 comes out and releases, you can expect some videos. I've mentioned this a few times, or a bunch of times, probably more than a few. The actual guide, like proper guide videos, it will probably be a while for those, because we want the game to breathe, and I want people to flesh out some things and like figure out just more than day one stuff. So it'll be a while for that, but I do intend on pumping out quite a bit of like these, what I call research videos, where it's like, oh, hey, here's what we found with this character so far. So hopefully that will, keep the content, but because I know I've been very lazy the last couple months, I haven't had a proper video like guide or content, Tekken gameplay content video in a while. So we will get back to that here very, very soon. But otherwise, that's really all I have. So, Dan, any last words before we call it quits?
Very excited about the new game, and I hope you all are too. It does look like it's very strong. I'm so excited. 5 days from now.
Yes. Hopefully we get 7-8 years or whatever it was out of this one as well. I like it when games can really breathe and they can live for long, and we really get those advanced metas. It's always fun. So with that, yeah. So thank you everyone for listening. The next episode, might be a little bit more than a month. We'll try to do it, before February ends, but, we're obviously going to be putting tons of time into playing the game. So, no need for us to jump onto, the next episode, too soon. But we will be back.
So chill
Yeah,
for the next episode.
but we will be back eventually. And like I said, you might see us some streams or whatever. But we will be out there playing the games, and we hope you guys will too. So stay around, keep an eye on the channel, more content coming, and congratulations to us all for making it to Tekken 8 release. See you later, guys.
Later.